a country of strikes and litigations. And talking about litigations, tomorrow IEBC is going to be here, moving to the Court of Appeal, and we're expecting a ruling. Basically, IEBC wants this, the verdict that was given earlier to be nullified. What is the way forward, really? And also considering Onyango, because we know your stand from the conversations we've had before, but also considering that we don't have a lot of time to August 8th. Are we being fair on the IEBC?
Betty, who said we didn't have time?
What is it? 27 days only? 28 days?
Things can be done in an hour a day, so it depends on how much time they need. Let us get it this way. IEBC cannot lead us on a wrong path, and every point they were being reminded, please, you are doing the wrong thing, and they continue doing the wrong thing, and the court has intervened now for the second time, asking them to do the correct thing. Again, they still refuse to do the correct thing by appealing. So that time goes and we reach a point of no return. Let us put it this way, on the aspect of time that you want us to talk about, that they have time. If you were to do open tender system under our laws, you have 21 days. We have more than 21 days within which to conclude it and within which it would be delivered. And even the previous one, the Al Ghurair had given a commitment that they would do it within 21 days. So we have time. Secondly, we have the second aspect of a procurement system, which is restricted tender. That could even take a week. Thirdly, we have got the direct tendering process that could take hours. Remember, if these companies that we are engaging are truly international, printing of ballot papers, and here we are talking of only presidential ballot papers, could take not more than a day. From the farthest point of this continent to Nairobi, which I suppose could be the tip of Australia, we would need maximum would be 12 hours to fly the ballot papers here. So the issue of time, let us not use it at all. Secondly, Betty, and to our viewers, should we allow our people to breach the law and the constitution simply because they take an excuse that they do not have time? The court has proclaimed itself on this matter. The court has said you must undertake public participation, and that they must do it. This appeal, etc., is wasting more time.
All right.
So my position is simple. We have enough time, we have enough personnel, and the court has proclaimed, unless IEBC is fully composed of incompetent people who are unable to appreciate or even interpret the judgment that was handed over to them.
All right. With the IEBC seems hell-bent on having Al Ghurair with the printing of this paper. They've had, like Onyango said, they've had this issue since October 2016 when this conversation came up about the ballot papers. Why is it so? Why is it so hard for IEBC to get somebody else to actually do this printing?
IEBC is taking cue from IEBC, from Jubilee. They are taking cue from there. They are listening to them. They are watching their body language. In fact, when I saw the president throw tantrums the other day that IEBC is being used, he was sending a message to them that, this is not what I expect from you. You need to do it the other way around. Because telling me about time, I read somewhere that the Standard Group prints up to 1 million copies of the Standard a day, of average 40 pages. How many are those? And you start that thing in the evening, and by midnight they are in Kisumu. So we are talking about 60 million pages. So the printing time is no longer an issue here. And I also want to ask, what irreparable damage would IEBC suffer if it retendered for this thing? And when you saw the president make so much noise about it, it was not about this latest court ruling. It was about the old one of counting and declaring results down there. But there he did not have a good reason to come and make noise. So he took these two together, and he had enough adrenaline to make so much noise. So I think the whole issue here is not IEBC. IEBC has formed a tag team with Jubilee, so they are taking instructions indirectly from Jubilee to do what they ought to do.
All right.
Because I don't see any irreparable damage they will suffer if they retendered for this thing in the public interest.
What would be the best solution? Is it what Onyango and Owidi are talking about having this thing done afresh?
Well, I think the step that has been taken by IEBC is correct and wrong, because they are allowed to appeal if they feel aggrieved by the decision. But I just want to say something about, I had an opportunity to review the conclusion and findings of the court on that particular matter, and I have a very serious concern about it, because one, if you read it, you will see the judges are saying they are not very clear what the applicant, that is NASA, is asking for. And I find it that strange, because they had an opportunity to interrogate the counsels of the IEBC, of the NASA, in that finding. Secondly, they have gone further and said there is the issue of judicial review, which is what NASA had gone for, right? Seeking certain actions. It is the same thing, that is what the court is saying, is the same thing like constitutional reference. You get what I mean?
Yes.
So that is a serious issue as far as I'm concerned. And I believe the judges tried as much as possible to enter into the minds of NASA in concluding what they are concluding. For example, NASA was saying that we want the reprinting, the retendering of the presidential ballot papers. But remember, when IEBC called for tender, it did not separate the tender for MCA, for women rep, for members of the National Assembly, for the senators, for the governors, and the president. It is one tender. You get what I mean? Why then single out one tender, or one of the one issue called presidential ballot papers? Why did the court do that? Why did NASA do that? Now, so basically, I would have expected the court to say that we are nullifying the entire tender, because the argument was there was no public participation. The question one needs to ask themselves is, was there public participation for MCA tender? Was there public participation for women rep?
Yes.
For men, the senators, and so forth?
Right.
So that issue of that judgment, to me, it raises very serious issues.
All right.
And I would like to invite Kenyans to look at what they have said in the conclusion and findings, and you start wondering, where are they coming from?
All right.
Where are they coming from? And that is, to me, a very major concern. And therefore, I agree with IEBC in making the kind of appeal they are making.
Okay. Onyangolo, are we likely to see litigation, really, like what he's saying, later on, even after the elections, of everybody questioning why wasn't, the whole tender quashed?
Before we get into that, Betty, let us not mislead our views with facts that we could easily verify, as my colleague here would want to mislead our viewers. It is very unfortunate. There were parties here which it was not only NASA and Jubilee. There was the Third Force Alliance, if you remember.
Third Way.
The Third Way Alliance. Yes. Sorry. What NASA had asked for were the grounds upon which NASA had approached the court were on bias, were on that the procedures were never followed, etc., etc. Those grounds, if you read that judgment carefully, were never answered to in the affirmative by the court. To the contrary, the court made a finding that was positive on the request made by the Third Way Alliance. They are the ones who had approached the court on the issue of public participation. So let us make that clear.
Okay.
It is wrong to say that the court read the minds of NASA when actually it did not even address anything positive on the NASA's approach to court, but took on the Third Way Alliance. Number one. Okay. And number two.
Very briefly.
Number two, very briefly.
Yes, yes.
I see the issue of why are we not having presidential, the old tender not being set aside. Remember the bone of contention. Those who had approached the court had only issues with the what? With the presidential vote printing. Nobody complained about the MCS. Nobody complained about the parliamentary.
Okay.
And beside that, don't forget a few weeks ago, the deputy president had said they don't give a damn even if it is printed by East Africa Spectre. What they changed? They seem to have had a religious commitment to Al Ghurair having this thing.
All right.
No.
We have to wind up.
No, I need to point out this issue. The question here is this. The basis of public participation, which was a clear thing. I'm asking, and I would like somebody to answer me, when did we have public participation on that tender?
All right.
For everybody else except
for all the positions.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll
but we must also understand why public participation is in tendering. Why was it placed there? So that there is no biasness like the one we are watching here.
All right. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll wait for tomorrow and wait to hear what the Court of Appeal will say. Very difficult questions, like you're saying, Kabage, are being asked about this particular issue. So we'll get to hear what the Court of Appeal will say tomorrow. All right. So we've come to the end of our conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for having joined me. I've been speaking to Onyango Olo, who's a NASA Secretariat spokesperson, also Odoyo Owidi, he's a political analyst, and Karanja Kabage, who's an advocate of the High Court.